everything you need to know about products and services that can improve your life. This is Experts on Call on CL 650.
We all need somebody to lean on.
And welcome back. This is Experts on Call on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. Joining us in the studio today from Intact Insurance is Patrick Magnuson. We also have Keith Story and Andrew Tablotny of Laguerre Pelling Insurance. Today's conversation has been all about insurance, in particular condominium insurance. And we talked earlier in the show about the definition of what a strata is when it comes to condominium owners. Keith, do you want to just recap what a strata is?
Sure. For most of this, we've been talking about condos, but strata would encompass a townhouse complex and a duplex as well. Essentially, you have a building which is divided into units which individuals own. You have common property and common areas which are jointly owned by all of the unit owners.
Excellent. Now, I came across this in an article I was reading the other day about a Bareland strata. What is a Bareland strata?
Well, Bareland, well, first of all, it's Bare, B-A-R-E. I remember the first time I ever ran across this, I thought, Bareland, B-E-A-R, what is that? But it has nothing to do with a national park. But so a Bareland strata is basically, it's like a community where there will be individual homes on it, but there will be some common property. Perhaps it might be a gated community, so the gate might be owned by the strata. The fence surrounding the property might be owned by the strata. The strata may be responsible for things like snow removal or lawn mowing. But the individual dwellings are usually standalone homes, and you would insure those as a homeowner's policy. So we've been talking about there are elements within a condominium policy, like the loss assessment coverage, that isn't in a homeowner's policy. So if you happen to live in a Bareland strata, it's important that you get this loss assessment coverage, and it's a fairly inexpensive endorsement, just a Bareland strata endorsement, that will provide you with loss assessment coverage. Because you will likely still have some common areas. Like I said, it might be very limited, it might just be a fence, but it might be a pool or some sort of community clubhouse or something like that. It all depends on the extent of your community.
Well, and then it goes back to the fact that if there's a shortfall on a liability claim, that you're now going to be on the hook for that. So
absolutely,
that's why you want to primarily on a Bareland strata. You're concerned about a liability exposure. People maybe slip and fall or whatnot.
Yeah.
So
I'm
a little bit confused, but carry on. Okay.
Well, and see, you may or may not know if you live in a Bareland strata or a Bareland condo, but if you're in maybe a 50-plus community, or if you're in a gated community, or if the city doesn't clean your streets, if you have to hire somebody to do that, basically, if you're paying strata fees, you're in some sort of strata.
Correct.
So if you have your own little house, chances are you're in a Bareland strata.
Got it.
So it's not really easily identifiable for your broker or for your insurance company, because your address is probably just still
1, 2, 3.
Exactly. But so they may not know that you're in a Bareland strata. So it's important to tell them that, so that they can get you that coverage that is necessary.
But chances are, if you're in a single dwelling and you're not attached to someone else, like a townhome or a duplex, or you don't have anybody living above you, chances are that is a Bareland strata.
That's right.
And so the differences would be on what's incorporated into that strata, whether it's the fence, the pool, the grounds, the gardens. It may not incorporate all of that, or it may.
Oh, it will. It will.
Oh, it will.
The common property, your home is not part of the structure of your home is not part of the common property. You own your home, but other elements within the community are common property. Of course, when we talk about stratas and condos, it really is the difference between what is yours and what is common property.
So really, when it comes to insuring that property or your personal liability on that property, it's the fact that it's a strata, whether it's a Bareland strata or a regular strata, it doesn't really matter.
Well, it does matter if you're in a condo building and you're insuring your unit, you're buying a condominium policy. If you're in a Bareland strata and you have your own home on there, you're buying a homeowner's policy, but you're going to have to buy the loss assessment extension coverage.
Okay, excellent. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in today's show. Can we recap some of the tips that we have shared today and that you have shared about being a condo owner, and what you as a condo owner needs to know when you're buying insurance? Who wants to start? Keith, you look anxious.
I think one of the most important things as a condominium owner is to first of all make sure you have adequate coverage. Take some time, go through your unit, go through your closets, as we've talked about earlier. There's stuff in there that we don't generally put the values to that we should. Make sure you've got the right amount of coverage on your contents. In the event that that the unspeakable happens, you've got coverage for it.
So know your surroundings, know where you live, know what you own.
Yep.
And
exactly.
Andrew?
I'll take it a step further. That's assuming you buy a policy. First thing is you need to buy the policy.
Yes.
So too often people think they don't. They think they got coverage under their strata because they pay strata fees. It includes an insurance component that they're covered, so they need to be aware that they don't have that coverage. You've got a huge hole, liability exposures, contents exposures, et cetera, et cetera. So, the first thing to do is make sure you do buy that. A little tip, if you're interested, they can always contact my office. We have an electronic content calculator, which actually reminds you of all the things you might own, and you can go in and plug all them in and it'll add it up, and you'll actually be able to see how much your contents are actually worth.
Oh, that's great. That's on your website?
No, it's just they call the office and we can give it to them. So
Okay.
I haven't got it on the website yet.
So get the policy. Patrick?
Well, I would have two comments. First is bring your in your minutes. You should get a copy of the Condo Corp policy. Bring that in and let your broker see that. That way they can determine what sort of exposure you might have to the condo corporation's deductible assessment, and make sure that you have adequate coverage. Second point I would say is, you live in a very tight-knit community, so this isn't just your issue. So if you buy a policy, that's great, but it is in the best interest of the condominium community that everybody have a policy. So stand up at your AGM, raise awareness, make sure you ask or encourage everybody to have a condominium policy. Doesn't need to be through Intact, doesn't matter. Just they need to have coverage, and that is in the best interest of your community.
And as a broker, we represent multiple companies. So the main thing I think I would suggest to people is understand what you've got in terms of your coverage on your policy. Understand how important additional living expenses are to you in the event that you do have a claim. And each company has different priorities in terms of what coverage they do provide. Your additional living expenses can be anywhere from 30 to 100% of your contents. So that can be a big number. If you got $100,000 worth of contents, your additional living expenses might be $30,000, or it could be $100,000. And in the event of a major claim, that $100,000 comes in real handy.
Absolutely.
Very good points. You're listening to Experts on Call on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton, and joined in studio today are the insurance experts with Patrick Magnuson from Intact Insurance, Keith Story, also from Intact, and Andrew Tablotny of Laguerre Pelling Insurance. So I'm confident today that we've actually given our listeners a lot to think about with our conversation on condominium insurance today. And in some cases, we may have caused you to think that you need to take immediate action when it comes to your insurance policies. And we're hoping that today's discussion has sparked that interest for you as well. I think we've determined that the best course of action for our listeners to take is to contact their broker, buy a policy, and if you're in a condominium, encourage everyone in that strata to have a policy as well.
Yep.
We're all in agreement?
Absolutely.
Boy, that's easy. And Andrew, if somebody wanted to contact you at Laguerre Pelling, what's the best way?
604-276-2474 or laguerrepelling.com. We've got a lot of this information on my website as well, so I have a lot of information there for them to digest.
Excellent. And if you want any more information about the products and services from Intact, their web address is intact.ca. Keith, Andrew, and Patrick, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
This has been Experts on Call on CL 650.